Hi everyone, this is the Book of the New Sun. I have never read a book like this before, and I have never had a book go to work on me and read me the way the Book of the Sun does. Okay, do I have everyone's attention? Are you still with me? This is YouTube, so if something interesting doesn't happen in like the first 2 seconds, people click off and go on to the next video. I don't want that to happen. I want to talk today about Book of the New Sun. This is not so much a review or recommendation as much as a reflection on my experience of reading the book and what kind of fascinating, strange world you will enter if you read. If you want my recommendation, absolutely give Book of the New Sun a try. There are not many writers like Wolfe out there. Whatever time you have on planet Earth, give him a try. But if you don't like him, that is okay. And I'm going to circle back around to that at the end of this video. So it's okay not to like him. Book of the New Sun is a science fiction story. It's millions of years in the Earth's future. The sun is going out. It started to, expand and turn red. The characters can faintly see the stars during the day, and Earth has regressed to this quasi-medieval state. Human beings already, built spaceships and went to other alien planets and brought back alien forms of life to Earth, and they crossbred with other, with Earth species and so on. But all that technology has been lost. It's all in the past, and mostly no one understands it anymore. It's a first-person narrative by a man named Severian, who is a torturer. He grows up in the Guild of the Torturers. The autarch, the head of the society, will send prisoners to the torturers to be tortured and killed in, interesting ways. Severian winds up getting involved in a plot. Oh, and let me interrupt myself. Very mild spoilers. For like the first 2 chapters of the book, which is like 10 pages. Extremely mild spoilers. You won't learn anything that you couldn't learn from 10 minutes of reading or so, but some people are twitchy about that. I'm going to interrupt my interruption. It's impossible to spoil a Wolfe story. His definition of good literature was anything that could be read with pleasure the first time and read with greater pleasure the next time you read it. And all of Wolfe's books absolutely qualify as great literature according to that definition. This book is dynamite. It is a live, living thing, and every time I've gone back to it, I know what happens, and it still feels fresh, new, interesting. I'm always slightly unsure about what's going to happen next, even when I know the story. I know that sounds very strange, but if you've read Wolfe, you know what that means. Okay, where was I? Oh yeah, spoilers. Okay, so Severian is a torturer in this quasi-medieval world with all this ancient technology around him that nobody understands. And he gets involved in a plot to overthrow the autarch because he wants humanity to be great again, And the sun is going out, and it's called the Book of the New Sun, so it's hardly a spoiler. Now, how all that plays out is much stranger and unexpected and impossible to anticipate. But it's the most amazing world it's the science fiction world is far in the future, but it feels deeply ancient, dusty, heavy with time. A world that's been grinding and grinding and grinding, but there's no real growth and no real change, and the sun is going out, and the patient needs to die or be resurrected. In fact, the first chapter is called Resurrection and Death, which is interesting in all kinds of ways. Wolfe you could read this book in many different ways. If you just want a really fun, inventive, exciting, really imaginative science fiction story, if that's all you want, Wolfe has got you covered. If you want aliens, time travel, laser fights, weapons, intrigue, violence, true love, all that stuff, you will find a lot to enjoy in this book. But man, there is so much more. There is so much more. Wolfe had the most interesting mind. He was an engineer by trade. In fact, he helped to invent the machine that makes Pringles potato chips. So the next time you have Pringles, think of Wolfe. He had an engineer's mind. All the gears and the intricate, the way everything fits together, he could just conceptualize that. He was also incredibly well-read. He read Latin and Greek. He loved Herodotus. Some science fiction, the ideas are amazing. The literary execution is lacking. Wolfe never has that problem. The characters he writes are amazing. They are completely vivid. They all speak in these very individual ways. In fact, the Book of the Long Sun, which is the follow-up to Book of the New Sun, happens in the same universe, almost none of the same characters. It's the only story I've read where I never needed to be told who was talking, because everyone talks in this idiosyncratic way. All the characters you meet are complete. You feel like you could meet them in real life. They're completely believable people. It's also fascinating to read because Wolfe, the artifice, is that Wolfe is translating a text, and there's a hint very late in the story about how Wolfe came across this text from millions of years in the future, and in his own sort of sly, playful way, Wolfe says that as he was translating this text, he could have just made up words, but he never did. He would coin new phrases from Latin or Greek or Spanish or Arabic or whatever. So like mercenaries in the story are called demarchi, and it means those who fight two ways. And English is, it's down the stream from Latin and Greek, where these words, they feel strange but slightly familiar at the same time. It produces them, it should be frustrating to read when there's so many new words. It isn't. It creates this wonderful sense of strangeness. It's just great as a science fiction story. Somebody called Book of the New Sun, Buck Rogers meets G.K. Chesterton going through a conversion, and that's actually a good way to describe it. But if you just want the Buck Rogers part, that's fine. Incredibly vivid characters. It's incredibly well written. And there's a wonderful depth dimension to the story. You can just go, the first time you're reading, you're just kind of sliding over the surface. But as you're reading, you realize there's far more going on that was there all along, you just didn't see it. So Severian's guild in the city called Nessus, they're in a tower with different levels. And he calls it a tower, and the first time you read, you just think of it as a tower. But then the third or fourth time you read, you actually realize it's something different. In ages past, people were using that building for something else, and it's right there on the page, and you just never saw it. There are two characters named Dr. Talos and Baldanders. And when they're introduced, you think you understand the relationship between them. Later on, you realize what's really going on, and then you look back at what you already knew. It's like, oh, it was right. I had all the information. I just didn't see what was going on. I can't remember if I said this already. Severian, he's a torturer. He gets wrapped up in a plot to try to overthrow the Autarch because he wants humanity to be great again, reclaim its lost mastery of the stars and all that. I may have said that already. You think you understand the relationship between Valdalis, the man who's leading this insurrection, and the Autarch. The depth dimension is there. It's fascinating to read. Another aspect to this, Severian is a first-person narrative. He is our only avenue into this utterly strange future world. Like, again, this happens in like the second chapter, but the moon, you just get these wonderful science fiction ideas. The moon has been pulled closer to the Earth, and I don't know the right words, but it's green. There are plants and trees growing on it because human beings, made it habitable. But all that's way in the past. So whenever moonlight shines, it's green. At one point, Severian makes a reference to the rats that he sees, who can write out a couple words of their own script in their own dung. And it's like they're evolving and becoming intelligent. At one point, a character is referring to a machine. And he says, yeah, the ancients, they made it run on something, what's the word? It's lightning or something like that, but nobody understands that now. And you realize he's talking about electricity. He doesn't even know the word. What was I talking about? I got so many things I want to say. Oh, right. Another dimension to this. It's this completely strange world, and Severian will make very brief references to things that are wild and strange and fascinating, but to him are completely normal, and he won't explain it. He is our only outlet into the world. He claims to have a perfect memory, but by the end of the second chapter, 8 or 9 pages into the book, he says, I realized that I was slightly insane. And he talks about how he had lied to other people had lied to him, and that he surely had lied to himself at times in the past. So he claims to have a perfect memory, but he also said, I have lied to myself sometimes. So he just comes out and says, I'm an unreliable narrator, and he's our only avenue, our only witness into this utterly strange world that's completely beyond what we can understand. So right from the beginning of the story, we're sort of wrong-footed. we're slightly wondering like what's going on. Sometimes Severian will not explain something important either because he doesn't understand something or he doesn't want to. At one point, he spends a lot of time talking about the geography of the city he's in because there's something very painful happening to him and he doesn't want to talk about it. That's fascinating to me because I think all of us are in exactly that same position. The hermeneutics of a Gene Wolfe novel, and especially the Book of the New Sun, are the hermeneutics of our own lives. We're in this strange foreign world, and we're not reliable narrators. My memories are not reliable. If I work my way over a memory over and over again, it will change, and I won't remember things right. Now, that you might be thinking that, sorry, let me back up a little bit. Some fiction, you are so immersed in the subjectivities of the characters, you can't tell what's actually happening or if it's all hallucination or a dream or something. And I suppose that kind of writing might have its own pleasures. That's not Book of the New Sun. The problem of subjectivity and unreliability is front and center right there, and you bump up against it as you're trying to make your way through this strange foreign future world. And yet at the same time, there's clearly a hard objective reality. You're not just lost in subjectivity. So it's very interesting, and I think that is a reflection on all of us. That's the way in which the Book of the New Sun reads me. It problematizes my own narrative about my own life, but it's not pure subjectivity. There is something hard and objective out there. Now, I probably made that sound like a cold metaphysical puzzle. The way in which Severian is interacting with the world, and you are interacting with the world through Severian, slightly suspicious because he's told you to be suspicious. As you do that, you see there's this wonderful redemptive edge to the whole book. Something really beautiful is happening in the universe for the character. Something really beautiful and redemptive is happening for the whole universe and for individual characters. It's called the Book of the New Sun. I was reading something about it. Somebody called Severian a Christ figure who is clearly in need of redemption himself. That's a good way to say it. You see, Severian changes over the course of the novel. Things that he's a torture aggressor. He doesn't care about violence and blood and agony. But he keeps trying to get better. One of the messages in the book is you are not stuck with who you are forever. That's really hopeful. And this world that has been grinding and grinding and grinding, and either needs to die or be redeemed, it's amazing. There's a conversation that Severian has with a certain class of characters in the book, and they look at him and say, did you ever think that the world was only a struggle against good and evil? Did you ever think it might not be something more? And all of a sudden you get that depth dimension again where you thought, oh, I've been reading the story one way, but well, there's something much more going on here. And it turns out there is something more going on, both for the characters and for the whole universe. It's not just a cold metaphysical puzzle, in other words. There's something vast and intimate about Book of the New Sun, both at the same time. You get this vast sort of sense of, the characters will talk about the curvature of space and faster than light travel, but also you meet characters who, millions of years in the Earth's future, and they're just trying to grow crops or make a living selling stuff and hold on to the people they love. It's a totally strange and believable futuristic world. Completely strange, completely believable. It's like the world, I'm just checking my notes, make sure I don't miss anything. It's like the world, it's like all the wreckage of ages past, like the wreckage from a ship. It's all washed up on the shore. And in this future world, you get words and ideas and technologies, but they're all slightly rearranged, and people call them by different names, and they don't quite understand them. I've never read a book like this before. I've read this book 7 or 8 times, I've lost track. I wanted to put a review up on this channel. By the way, if you haven't come to Seed of Dragons before, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for being here. We only have so much time on this planet. Thank you for giving me some of your time. We talk about Wolfe all the time, Tolkien all the time, C.S. Lewis, Neil Gaiman, Lovecraft, Poe, others. I thought about doing this review just on my memories of the book, because I know the story pretty well. But I opened it up and I'm 600 pages in again. I just can't put it down. I like to read science fiction. I really enjoyed the Dan Simmons Hyperion book. I really enjoyed the Southern Reach books. Really enjoyed the Three Body Problem. Very inventive. I remember I was in the second Dan Simmons book. The first one is Hyperion. I forget what the second one is called. I really enjoyed it, having a great time, and I got about 50 pages in and I thought, I could be reading Wolfe right now. And I put Dan Simmons down. He's a great writer. Put him down. I've never gone back. I can't get away from this guy. So that's my experience reading it. This video has gone on long enough. I just can't recommend it strongly enough. However, if you read it and you don't like it, it doesn't grab you, and you're just doing it because some weirdo on YouTube said he liked it a lot, don't worry about it. Don't force yourself. I have friends who read more widely than I do, and I've tried to get them interested in Wolfe, and it just doesn't grab them, and that is okay. Life is too short. Read whatever you enjoy, and don't read something you don't enjoy if it's work to get through it just because people are saying it's important or whatever. That's completely fine. But I've never entered a world like the Book of the New Sun, and I've never had a book go to work on me the way the Book of the New Sun has. I feel like I haven't explained it very well, but I think that's the best I can do. If you've read the book, please, I'd genuinely love to hear from you. Let me know what your experience was. Leave a comment below. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for watching. Bye.